Thank you so much for having me and for all of your hard work to serve low-income households during this really crazy time. Our team just continues to be super impressed with all of the work that our VITA partners are doing to serve people with the resources they have on hand in lots of creative ways, and really learning a lot from VITA programs as we're partnering with them on Get Your Refund. So the purpose of my quick 5 minutes today is just to tell you all a little bit about Code for America's fully digital VITA pilot, GetYourRefund.org, and also to provide a little bit more information about how you can potentially get involved. Next slide, please. The Code for America is a nonprofit organization that is based in San Francisco, and we partner primarily with government, but also with nonprofit partners to strengthen the delivery of public services through user-centered design and technology. Next slide. And we came at this work actually in a little bit of a roundabout way. We launched a discovery process in the workforce space about a year and a half ago to really understand how we could help more people find and keep living wage jobs. And in the end, actually what we found was that people needed cash support in order to be able to take advantage of trainings and other opportunities through the workforce system. And so we actually sort of switched our focus to helping people find flexible cash that could help them get on their feet. And this is not new to any of you, I'm sure, but really realized for the first time for our organization how deep the need for cash was and how widespread it was as well. Next slide, please. And so we started looking around the landscape for a source of flexible cash that was underutilized. A lot of our specialty at Code for America is helping people access services that are available and not being fully used. And so EITC really jumped out at us as this huge opportunity because there's a ton of money left on the table every year. Our best estimates were that about $10.5 billion were left on the table nationally. And we felt like our organization would be in a good place to help bridge that gap and help more people access the EITC. Next slide, please. And so what we first started out with was actually a lot of user research to understand if this money was available. It's pretty significant for low-income households. Why were people not accessing it? And so we talked with a bunch of users in California and Colorado to understand really what they needed. And that was free and trustworthy support. That was clarifying, and they could ask questions and make sure they weren't getting stuck. Thorough, so people needed access to back taxes and taxes basically whenever they needed them. So wanted to figure out how to provide supports to people who had missed the filing deadline and needed to file their taxes anyway. Next slide, please. And so as we looked around the landscape and looked at all the digital services that were available and the nonprofit and public sector services, we realized that VITA was really the best partner for us in closing the EITC participation gap, that all those user needs that were identified on the previous slide, VITA was able to meet the vast majority of those needs better than any other program. And the biggest place that VITA was struggling was actually access, whether that's access to rural communities, access in terms of available hours or long lines at VITA sites. And so we reached out to some wonderful VITA partners in California and Colorado to be able to do some experiments and see if we could work with VITA to help them make their services more accessible through digital services. Next slide, please. And so after some initial experimentation last tax season, we decided to do a pilot of a fully digital VITA service that allows people to do a digital intake process through a mobile phone or a computer or tablet where they enter their basic tax information, and then we connect them with a VITA provider to be able to complete the taxes on the back end. So the service is both the sort of front-end website that's available to the end user, the client, and then also the sort of case management system, which is actually based on the Valley VITA tools that Ray Pulaski created in Arizona. Next, please. And so this is our original plan, and I will tell you guys more about how that has changed dramatically. Our goal was really to see if we had a role to play in closing the EITC participation gap. So we wanted to just get the service in the hands of users, try it out with a few people, and help prepare about 5,000 returns, and really be focused on, can we reach the right people? So are we able to get non-filers and people who haven't previously claimed EITC before, or are we making it just easier for people who are already accessing VITA services? And then also wanted to be measuring whether we were able to improve the efficiency of our VITA partners, whether that's the number of returns they could prepare or sort of looking at how efficient their volunteers are. And our core values going into the pilot were we want to learn from this pilot and continue to iterate on what different strategies could be helpful in supporting VITA to close the EITC participation gap. We wanted to really understand the barriers that clients were facing. So just as an example that we're seeing really early on is access to documents. Although we've set up this digital intake, if people can't access their W-2s, they can't use the service. So how do we start to dig into those additional barriers and help break them down and make sure folks can access their tax credits? And then to work really collaboratively with partners and lift up their shared work and learn from the deep experience that VITA has and the successes that they have. Next slide, please. So in our first 30 days, this is a brand new tool we just launched sort of midway through the tax season this year. We've served about 1,200 people through the intake form. About half of those have completed their returns. And we moved from 4 initial VITA partners to starting to expand due to COVID-19. We have 12 additional active partners, another 15 that are at some point in the onboarding process, and about 35 sites that are on our wait list. And we're hoping to get them into Get Your Refund as well. Next slide, please. And I won't make you all read all this, but it's here if you want to see it a little bit later. We're just starting to hear some really amazing client stories. We have our user research team helping provide the chat support on the website, and they're really hearing a lot about how stressful this time is for clients and how the personal touch that VITA provides, even through digital services, is really important to clients and builds their confidence and fluency in taxes and helps them be able to think of themselves as tax filers and get through a complicated process. Next slide, please. So we now have this huge opportunity in front of us, opportunity and challenge, which is reaching filers in the gap via the stimulus or EIP payment. Next slide, please. And these are the best estimates that we've been able to come across. They were done by New America. We believe that there are about 9 million people in the EIP or stimulus check gap, which is a ton of people. Many of those are also in the EITC participation gap. We think about 6 million people are below the filing minimum. Some of those may qualify for EITC, others may need to just access the EIP. And then about 3 million above the filing minimum, many may qualify for both EITC and EIP. So if we assume actually a pretty low number of $1,200 per filer, that's not including dependents, obviously, that's potentially $10.8 billion that could be left on the table in the form of the EIP. So this is a huge challenge and also a huge opportunity for us to reach out to folks and figure out how to bring them into the tax filing process. Next slide, please. So we decided to try to rise to this challenge in front of us, even though our program is very new, and both boost our capacity with the traditional Get Your Refund service and develop some additional service offerings that will allow us to not necessarily meet the need of 9 million people, but get close. Next slide, please. So how we're approaching this is actually building out GetYourRefund.org as being a website that can triage clients to the right level of service, so that any government agency or VITA partner or advocacy group could send as many clients as needed to our website, and we could help get them to the resources that they need. So the Get Your Refund full digital service will be really the highest level of service, and we'll work to expand our current service offerings. So expanding to things like back taxes, adding Spanish in the near future, and partnering with more and more VITA sites to be able to serve more and more clients. So our goals now have gone from about 5,000 clients to 50 to 100,000 clients served through the full Get Your Refund service. And I'll just be fully transparent with you all. In traditional technology development, you start small, put the service in front of clients, work out the bugs, put it in front of the clients again, and do a lot of iteration cycles before you would go to such a big scale. And our team has decided that although we know we will be running into bugs as the service is running, that we feel confident in our ability to resolve those quickly, and that it's worth it to try to provide this service to a much larger group of people, because they're just so it's so needed and there are so few other options available right now. So we're really trying to scale a pilot way faster than we have ever imagined or done in any of our other programs. And then the next piece is actually a supported DIY or FSA option. So this is a sort of lower level of service that we're hoping will allow us to reach potentially millions of people, where we will work through our website to match clients that are interested in trying to do their taxes themselves with support to a local VITA site FSA link. And then we'll have a chat service set up so that VITA volunteers and staff can support clients who have questions as they're doing their own taxes. And really, a lot of the goal there is to prioritize the full service Get Your Refund to the clients who need that high level of service the most, and folks that are likely to be able to do their taxes mostly themselves will be pushing towards the DIY option. And then for people who may just need to fill out the IRS forms to get their EIP, or may need other services that are related to tax services, we're going to be doing some triage and FAQs to help people get referred to the right places. Next slide, please. Next slide, please. So if you're curious about how you can get involved in this, we cannot do this without VITA's help. We are completely reliant on our VITA partners to be able to do this work. And so we're both looking for partners to collaborate with us on the Get Your Refund fully digital service, so providing full online intake and tax prep for partners. And then also interested in onboarding partners who are just willing to do the chat support, DIY or FSA support. And we're going to be working more closely with Taxpayer Opportunity Network to identify the next 10 to 20 sites to onboard. And just to give you a sense of how we're prioritizing things, we're really looking to identify higher capacity sites or coalitions in states that we aren't currently serving folks to make sure that we can get national coverage as quickly as possible. And then we're going to be reaching out to additional sites to boost capacity overall. So just to tell you a little bit about what our experience has been for the past few weeks, we've gotten over 60 messages from VITA sites who are interested in joining Get Your Refund. And it is our goal to be able to make the service available for as many VITA sites as would like to participate. But we're struggling to figure out how to triage those sites and onboard them as quickly as possible, given that we hadn't produced things like training materials because we were only working with a few sites that we were showing up in person and working with them very closely. So we're transitioning into a more sort of self-service onboarding and training model that will hopefully allow us to be able to serve more sites quickly. So if you're interested, I have a few links here. I'm sure I can put them in the panel, but there's a document you can read that'll just tell you a little bit more about what a partnership looks like and how the service works. And then we have what we call the partner interest form, which you can fill out to join our waitlist. And that just asks you a little bit of information about who your site serves, your scale, the geography that will help us think through when would be the best time to potentially bring you on to Get Your Refund. And I do want to apologize in advance. I know there are many folks out there who have already filled out this form and have not heard back from me. And so it's not because we're not interested in having you join Get Your Refund. We're just a bit overwhelmed on our end, and I'm actually staffing up to make it easier for us to support all of you. So you will hear from me soon. And I think that's it. I'm excited to hear questions from you all and happy to share more about Get Your Refund. Thank you.